Hello, everyone, and welcome to Choose Happy. This is a virtual introduction to the Art of Happiness, which is my new program presented by Wise Owl Wellness. My name is Christy, and I am the owner and chief executive owl at Wise Owl Wellness. I'm the former director of the Mindfulness Center at the University of Virginia. And I am really excited about offering this workshop here. And hopefully you can join me for some future classes and workshops as well. Just to let you know a little bit about me while we're waiting for folks to come into the session. I currently live in Tucson, Arizona, and I spend a lot of my time training yoga teachers and providing continuing education for yoga teachers, as well as teaching occasional yoga classes or mindful movement classes. And I provide Thai yoga bodywork and also train people to become Thai bodywork practitioners. And I help my private yoga clients with programs like this, the Choose Happy, to achieve their goals, whatever they might be. And I also lead yoga retreats. I just got back from Costa Rica. So it's been a whirlwind, and don't know if you can tell, but I absolutely love everything that I do for work. So I am based in sunny Tucson, Arizona, but I often do travel to do workshops and trainings in other places around the globe. So today I'm excited to talk about happiness. Mahatma Gandhi said that happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. So I could ask probably everyone on here, are you happy? And I think that's kind of a loaded question, because in order to answer that question, we need to define what happiness is for each individual. Happiness is a very individual experience, and it's based on your level of satisfaction in key areas of your life. So before we jump into all of that, let's figure out why you'd want to even be happier. You know, research shows that happy people, we'll call them people who identify as happy, are more productive, they're more creative, they're more successful in their projects, relationships, and jobs, meaning they have an overall sensation of happiness on their whole life. Happy people are also healthier people. You know, it turns out that happiness can boost immunity and help us heal faster when we're sick or injured. So if happiness is so great, why, and it's great for us, then why isn't everyone happy? And there are many, blocks on the road to happiness. And I'm going to go over them and see if any of these sound familiar, because a lot of times we self-sabotage ourselves because we may not believe that we deserve happiness for whatever reasons. So see if any of these roadblocks to happiness sound familiar. You know, some people are addicted to drama. There's a negative feedback loop that happens when we get that little pump of adrenaline when we are in a dramatic situation. And it's kind of like it's hard to get out of that situation because we just feed off of it. So sometimes drama can be addictive, and that can keep us from experiencing happiness. Or maybe our norm has become that negative patterns and thoughts are comfortable. You know, some people's emotional set points, or if you think about our emotional scale from positive to negative being kind of like a dial where you could dial it up into the positive or dial it down into the negative, some people have become set in a negative thought pattern because it's comfortable and the body is used to being that way. So it's going to help create more of that particular emotion in order to elicit more of that emotional response. You know, it's kind of like if you get up on the wrong side of the bed in the morning And then your day continues to just become crappier and crappier because you kind of were already set into that negative pattern before you even gave yourself a chance to shake that off or recondition yourself, or to turn the dial up from your negative behavior patterns into the more positive range. Another roadblock to happiness are triggers. They're everywhere. People have trauma, and a lot of our trauma is not visible. And so when we experience a trigger, whether it's a word or a song or a smell or whatever, a behavior that happens in our presence, then we kind of flip into our normal patterns of response, which may be negative. So learning to identify what the triggers are and hopefully replacing them with positive ones can help bring you back into the lane of happiness rather than being stuck in that negative thought or behavior pattern. It also has to do with our conditioning. Some people are just conditioned to be negative Nellies. If we are looking for a new vehicle, this is an example that's given lots of times. If you're looking for a Volkswagen Beetle and you're wanting to purchase that, then guess what you're going to see coming down the road all the time are Volkswagen Beetles, because we kind of condition ourselves to look for that. Now, most of us are conditioned to look for negative patterns because we grew up in a negative situation, and that's all we know. So we're conditioned to continue to look for that. And it's kind of like saying, well, nothing good ever happens to me, and then nothing good ever happens to you. So we have to think about how we are framing our thoughts and moving them into more of what we do want, which hopefully is happiness. And then finally, lack of motivation is a roadblock to happiness, because if you don't even believe that happiness is possible, then it's never going to be attainable. And what that means is insert, I don't believe that happiness is possible, inserting for someone like me. And I think that a lot of people think that way, that they just don't believe they deserve to be happy. And if they don't believe that they deserve it, then they don't believe it's even possible. So if any of those roadblocks to happiness ring true for you, then maybe we can work through those together and really figure out, what does happiness look like for you? That's going to be different for every single person. Now, I sent you a little worksheet called the Wheel of Life, and I went ahead and did mine as well. Oh, there we go. So my Wheel of Life looks like this. So there are 8 different key parts of life. So they are personal growth, health, friends, relationship, recreation, spirituality, career, and finance. Those are the 8 key areas where most people want to excel, or at least succeed in. And if we use this tool, the Wheel of Life tool, and kind of color in your level of satisfaction for each one of those key areas, then it gives you a visual of how satisfied are you really. Now, it's on a scale of 1 to 10. So any of the areas that you colored in that are in the scale or in the range of 8 to 10, then that means you're pretty satisfied in those areas. And, maybe you could do a little better, but maybe you want to redirect your energy and attention to the areas that could use a little bit of work. Those are the areas that you scored 5 to 7. So those are the areas where maybe just a little bit of improvement could make a huge difference. Maybe there's just one little thing that you can do to bump you from a 7 to an 8. And then you want to take a look at any areas that you scored as 1 to 4. Those are critical. So those are the areas that you really want to pay attention to. And I invite you to, really set some time aside to explore what's holding you back from succeeding in those particular areas. Because if you could, what would happen if you could improve even one of the pieces of the pie of your wheel of life? Do you think that might make a difference, or maybe give you a little bit of motivation to work on other areas of that pie until your wheel rolls along nice and smoothly without bumps? So your homework, or I like to call it your life work, is to sit down and get quiet. Do some deep breathing for about 5 minutes so that you're really settled and relaxed. And then look at each one of those areas on the wheel of life and make a list, writing down 3 things that you could do in the next 30 days that might bump up your happiness in that piece of the pie just a little bit. So sitting down to really think about, what are 3 things that might make me a little happier? So for example, one of mine that is, I scored a 5, is in the friendship zone. I work a lot and I have a relationship. And so when I'm not at work, I'm at home balancing that life work balance. But what that leaves is a lot of room for me to not be seeing my friends. It doesn't leave a lot of time to go out and hang out with friends like I used to, or catch up with folks, or even do a Zoom call with some of my friends who are on the East Coast. And so that level of satisfaction is about a 5 out of a 10. Now, if you're familiar with school and grading of tests, 5 out of 10 is 50%. That's failing. So that's an area that I'm not succeeding in. And so one of the things that I could do, or 3 things that I could do in the next month, would be maybe reach out to a friend that I haven't talked to in ages and just kind of rekindle that relationship. Or I could schedule to have tea with a friend here in town and just block off some time to make time for that friendship. Or I might just go and make or buy a gift for someone that I've been thinking about recently, and just leave that on their doorstep, and just kind of, know that they would appreciate just knowing that I was thinking about them. So those are 3 things that I could do in the next 30 days that would probably increase my satisfaction level in that friendship zone. So I think you get the idea, thinking about what are 3 things you could do within the next month that would increase or bump up that score on each piece of the pie. And then go back and look at your list of 3 items and circle 1 that you could do today. So for my example of the friendship zone, I could today make a call to a friend who lives in Bisbee that I haven't heard from for a while, and just talk to her on the phone for a little bit, and maybe even make that next step to set up a time where we could reconnect in person. So once you've circled the one thing that you could do today, then go do that and see how you feel. You can always check back in with your Wheel of Life exercise anytime you need to figure out, why you're not experiencing satisfaction in your life in one particular area or more. And you can always join me for more workshops, or set up a private session, or join me for a happy camp, which is kind of like kids camp, but with no kids. So it's a whole weekend that's devoted to improving your happiness. So I'm going to stop the recording here, and then I'll open up the floor for questions or comments.